Keep it high, keep it tight. I'm Jay Morris Review Guy, back to bring you another 5-minute review. Today we're going to be continuing our 1,000 subscriber celebration week, in which for 7 days I upload a 5-minute review every single day. And on day 3 and 7, they're going to be bigger videos. Well, for those of you that are watching this later, you already know what the big video for the 3rd day is. But for the rest of you that are watching this early, I'll keep the suspense. It should be out later tonight, most likely, and I still need to do some final touches on it. But I'm excited for it, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So let's continue this. So today we are reviewing the album Exoplanet by the band The Contortionist. Now, if you haven't noticed on the channel, I like to work on discographies going either backwards or forwards, and I kind of like to talk about how certain bands change. And for The Contortionist, which is a band that I really enjoy, I feel like this is an important discography, and this album in particular is important to discuss. So there is the album Intrinsic as well, which kind of had this same type of style. But when you look at their most recent outputs, such as Language, which is considered their best album, and Clairvoyant, which is also considered a fantastic album, those are released in, I believe, 2014 and 2017. I know Clairvoyant was 2017. Not sure about Language though. I think it's 2014. Go check it if you want to know for sure. But I think that they have changed their style a lot over time, and Exoplanet and Intrinsic and their prior work is definitely very djent, deathcore, progressive deathcore type of style, whereas their more recent output is a lot more melodic, a lot more just progressive rock and progressive metal, especially Clairvoyant. It's almost entirely sung vocals, clean vocals, no growls or screams, no heaviness, no heavy vocals. With instrumentation it can be heavy, but Language still clung to it a bit with the heavy side and the metal side, but Clairvoyant pretty much just abandoned it entirely. It's a strange comparison, but kind of like how Bring Me the Horizon went from There's a Hell to The Sempiternal to That's the Spirit, that type of drastic change in their style. But let's talk about this album. So Exoplanet is in my opinion, this genre has gotten a lot of heat over the years, and that's deathcore, and I think that is a good term for this album. I think that for this time in the band, I think that progressive deathcore is a fairly decent term. Now, you could also split hairs and go into like the technical death metal department. You could go in just the progressive metal department. But in my opinion, I feel like deathcore is the easiest to understand, because when you hear the style, I don't think you're really gonna get every single nuance and be like, that's this genre or that genre. I think it's more easy to say just this is deathcore. So for a deathcore album, see, deathcore was big back in the day, and this was released, I believe, 2010, wasn't it? 2010? Yeah, 2010. So deathcore was still like very fresh. There were still tons of albums being made by tons of bands, and there still are. There's a lot of kind of new wave deathcore bands that are kind of taking the forefront, but deathcore in the past was a lot more bolstered. It was a lot more right there in the public eye of metal, and it was, I don't want to say the craze, but pretty much the craze. It was kind of like how what metalcore did in the late 90s, in the early 2000s, where it was just widespread. It was this new genre, this new idea, this new sound, and everyone was so intrigued. And you had bands like Suicide Silence, and you had bands like Whitechapel, and there were tons of bands that were coming around that were embracing this sound. Early Bring Me the Horizon even, and a lot of people cite them as an influence. And I think that this is straight up deathcore that has been infused with something that makes it sound very interesting, which is the progressive side. And for a progressive metal album to be mixed with deathcore now, it's not as uncommon now, because you have bands like Born of Osiris, like Veil of Maya, Upon a Burning Body, After the Burial. These bands that kind of mix in the djent, metalcore, deathcore type of stylistic ticks that are a bit more prevalent in the genre now, because pretty much every metal band wants to have that djent tag or that progressive tag. But for 2010, I can see why this would have been a release that was really highly regarded, and as a deathcore fan, going back and listening to it, it was a lot of fun. I'm going to give this album a 7 out of 10, though, because, yes, it is deathcore, and nowadays, now, it probably would have gotten a 10 or 9 if I was doing reviews back in 2010, but for what it is, for now, I'll give it that. So, see you guys tonight for that big video, and I'll see you tomorrow for the next review. I'll talk to you guys next time. This has been Jay Mercer Review Guy. I'm signing off saying farewell.
Oh no, what your mama gonna say when I tell her that I broke no heart? It's just things not the way that they used to be. Oh no, now you crying on the bathroom floor and I guess it's the end. Well, I lost my mind and I lost my best friend.